Good morning. Please stand. Please come in. We're going to start singing. We're going to sing We Sing of Golden Mornings, number 44, in your hymnal.
I may have it, I may have it.
We sing of golden mornings, we sing of sparkling seas, of prairies, valleys, mountains, and stately forest trees. We sing of flashing sunshine and life-bestowing rain, of birds among the branches and springtime come again. We sing the heart courageous, the youthful eager mind. We sing of hopes undaunted, of friendly ways and kind. We sing the roses waiting beneath the deep piled snows. We sing the earth's great splendor, whose beauty round us glows.
Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal, religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or as we like to say, in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We begin this morning, as we do each Sunday, by welcoming all that you bring with you to this space, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are. We're glad to have you this morning, and this is so for those of you who are in the room with us, as well as those of you who are live streaming with us today too. It's great to have all of you here. So, quick announcement, in case you hadn't noticed, we're set up for our Thanksgiving potluck luncheon after the service, and want to invite all of you to stick around for that. We'd be glad to have you in this part of what's, I think, become an annual celebration for us. So thanks to all the organizers who helped put it on, and for those who've been able to bring a dish to share, that's wonderful too, but we do invite all of you to stay as our guests this afternoon after service. So I want to take a few minutes at the start of our service to talk about what's going on in the Middle East. I've not been reluctant to say much about it. I just don't know what to say about it. It's been going on for so long, since really 1948. Really before that, and it's just a really difficult situation, and you know, to me it's a situation where we have to hold two conflicting truths. And in this particular example, the truth is that the terrorist attack against Israel was inhuman beyond imagination. The things that they did to other human beings, many of whom are still missing. We don't know where they're at, what condition they're in, and their family is obviously distraught, and you would understand why the leaders of a nation would respond in such an aggressive way. At the same time, there are supposed to be international rules about how we engage in war, which is a bit of an oxymoron to say to begin with. But clearly, you cannot mow through every Palestinian in your way in the possibility of getting to your enemy. And when we hear the numbers, well over 10,000 Palestinians dead now, many of them very young, it's unjustifiable. It cannot be justified. And a few years ago, I guess it was 2019, I guess. It was a good year for me. I spoke about this issue in church, and in fact, we brought a rabbi here to speak. It was a historic Sunday. The rabbi, Michael Davis, spoke about his concerns for Palestinians. And it was the first time in history that a Jewish rabbi came to a Unitarian church and spoke on Palestinian rights. And I was immediately labeled an anti-Semitic by many in the local Jewish community for having done that. And these are the silencing tactics, right? So there's a lot of people in our churches and in our world who aren't saying anything because this is the society we live in now. If you'd say something, you get labeled anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic, transphobic, ableist, classist, all those things that are designed to shut us down. And I don't have a solution for this problem. What I do know is that this is a problem that's been in existence since 1948, and it is the type of insanity that Einstein is rumored to have addressed that perpetuates because we just keep repeating the same response over and over, which is a violent response and a prejudicial response that denies the humanity of others. So I don't have an answer other than the one I've been giving in this pulpit for years, which is that we need to be liberals. We need liberalism, which is rooted in a belief in the universal connection of human beings. That all human beings are related. And therefore, all share the same level of human dignity. And therefore, all of our systems, everything we do, should promote human welfare and the ability of individuals to fully unfold. You can't unfold when you're locked behind a wall. And you don't have a voice in how you're governed. You can't unfold. So, that I believe is the answer. To get out of our tribal mindsets, our racial mindsets. I always think it's funny that the people who say they're against so many things are now tribalizing us, breaking us into groups because they don't believe in a common humanity. That's postmodernism, that's wokeism. And therefore we don't see those who are outside of our tribe as having the same level of dignity, deserving the same rights. They're not real people. They deserve to be punished. They can't be with us. They can't be in our community, in our society. They're dangerous. They say things that harm us. They do things that harm us. Whatever it is, there's all these excuses for separating the human family. Liberalism doesn't believe that. Racism, the belief in race is itself an invention of white supremacists. Okay? There is no such thing. You can look to our DNA and you can see that. We're all one people. Even more closely related than most species on Earth. Because of a bottleneck that happened, hundreds of thousands of years ago. So today I'm going to be continuing a series of sermons I've been giving occasionally that are a reworking of one of my famous predecessor, John Deitrich's sermons. John Deitrich was here between 2011 and 2016. He came here as a heretic, having been excommunicated by the Dutch Reformed Church, and went on to become a founder of humanism and known as the Father of Religious Humanism. And his sermons were incredibly profound and really ahead of his time and have a lot of meaning for us today. The sermon I'll be giving later today is on our need for a new morality. And if you listen closely, I think you'll understand that Dietrich is also getting at what I believe would be a solution to what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in our own country, what's going on in Washington, all of this division. If we were to be able to create the vision of morality that he envisioned almost 100 years ago in this sermon, things would be much different today. So this will be in many ways my offering in my almost inability to address this issue in any meaningful way. And I hate to sound, I always try to be hopeful and optimistic, and I am. But I don't have the answer any more than you do. Is a way to explain all this in a nice little nugget of truth, and that we can all go home and feel good. Oh, hey, yeah, that's what we should do. Now we have the answer. It doesn't mean anything because the pain is still happening. But what I know is that the suffering that the Israelis encountered over a month ago was horrible. And the pain that those families are feeling is terrible. And I know that the same feelings, the same loss that Palestinians are feeling today are equally as horrible and equally as unjustifiable. So you want to greet one another now? Please do. Being together is an important part of it.
Thank you.
What's that? Did I say 2011? Oh yeah, sorry. Maybe I think about Okay, more time to talk, obviously, after our service today, but let's move forward now with the lighting of our chalice. The chalice is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found. And real quickly, I want to clarify, I think I said Dietrich was here from 2011 to, yeah, 1911. Hey. Most of you knew that, but just in case.
Our opening reflection is from Steven Pinker's Enlightenment Now, the Case for Reason, Science, Humanism, and Progress. One student asks, "Why should I live?" The author responds, "In the very act of asking that question, you are seeking reasons for your convictions, and so you are committed to reason as the means to discover and justify what is important to you. And there are so many reasons to live. As a sentient being, you have the potential to flourish. You can refine your faculty of reason itself by learning and debating. You can seek explanations of the natural world through science, and insight into the human condition through the arts and humanities. You can make the most of your capacity for pleasure and satisfaction, which allowed your ancestors to thrive and thereby allowed you to exist. You can appreciate the beauty and richness of the natural and cultural world as the heir to billions of years of life perpetuating itself. You can perpetuate life in turn. You have been endowed with a sense of sympathy, the ability to like, love, respect, help, and show kindness. And you can enjoy the gift of mutual benevolence with friends, family, and colleagues. And because reason tells you that none of this is particular to you, you have the responsibility to provide to others what you expect for yourself. You can foster the welfare of other sentient beings by enhancing life, health, knowledge, freedom, abundance, safety, beauty, and peace. History shows that when we sympathize with others and apply our ingenuity to improving the human condition, we can make progress in doing so, and you can help to continue that progress.
Please stand, join me for number 100, I've Got Peace Like a River. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like
We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning, and begin with a candle for the people of Ukraine and that region of the world that are continuing to suffer from the violence going on there, and of course a candle for the people of Israel and Palestinians who are suffering the terrible violence in that part of the world. And we kindle a candle for church member Jacob Johns, who is continuing to heal after being shot at a demonstration in Albuquerque. I got to speak with Jacob this week. He's out of the hospital back home. Doesn't sound like he should be. He's definitely healing and ready to go tackle the world, and he's also very, very tired and would prefer to rest than attend to what he feels are his moral obligations. He's just an incredible young man, but he is still recovering from very serious damage from that gunshot. So please keep Jacob in your thoughts at this time. And let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In the restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp, I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share, and no one dare disturb the sound of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning to the words that it was forming, and the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered
I just want to sit and listen to more. Thank you both so much. It is time for our story for all ages. So if we have any kiddos who want to come up a little closer, you're welcome to at this time. Here you go. Yeah, come right up here. Lead the way. Show them how it's done. Here they come. Good job. All right. Thank you. So I have a friend, as usual, to help me with this, so bear with me just a moment. Oh, my goodness. Look who it is. If it isn't Eleanor Clunk. Well, then who is it? No, I mean you are Eleanor Clunk. I thought you said I'm not. Well, you misunderstood. When you say if it isn't someone, you mean that it is someone. Just say what you mean, dearie. I'm too old to deal with riddles. Okay, all right. Speaking of which, I understand that you are one of the oldest people on the planet. Just how old are you? You know, it's considered rude to ask a lady her age after she's passed 110. 110, wow, that is a long time. You certainly don't look that old, and you get around pretty well, wonderfully actually. So tell me, did you drive here yourself this morning? No. My children took my car keys away and don't let me drive my automobile anymore. Oh, I'm so sorry. That must be tough. Well, it's okay. They're old enough. I just turned around and took theirs away from them. Well, perhaps it was for the best. So did you take the bus or an Uber here? No, I rode my motorcycle. You rode your motorcycle? Oh my gosh. Yes, I have a Harley Davidson and the tattoo to prove it. Would you like to see it? No, I'm gonna trust you on that. But since you're here, can we please borrow a little from your years of experience? Well, wouldn't you just like to borrow a cup of sugar? I don't have a lot of years left, you know. Oh, come now. What I mean is that I want your advice on my sermon topic. Sermon topic? Oh, no. I must have missed my turn when I taught that Willie on 3rd Street. I thought this was Dunkin' Donuts. No, it's not Dunkin' Donuts. But since you are here, do you mind giving us your thoughts on the difference between right and wrong? The difference between right and wrong, yes. Do you have, for example, a favorite book on the subject? Oh, dearie, you can't learn the difference between right and wrong by reading a book, no matter how good it is. I see. Well, then are there some rules that you always try to live by? Now, don't you know you can't always do what's right simply by following the rules? Well, maybe you have a favorite ethical philosopher or a religious figure like Jesus or the Buddha. Well, there have been a lot of good and smart people in the world, but just because someone tells you what you should do is no guarantee it's the right thing to do. You have to figure that out for yourself, dearie. Well, if you don't follow what's written in a certain book and always obey a certain rule or do what other people tell you to do, then how do you know the difference between right and wrong? Well, would you like it if I said something mean to you? No, don't say anything mean to me. I like people who are nice. Well, would you like it if I took your wallet when you weren't looking? No, I need my wallet. Do not take my wallet. Well, would you like it if I saw you needed help and I just ignored you? No, being ignored feels even worse, doesn't it? You like being ignored? I'm going to ignore you. Said that then. That's how you know the difference between right and wrong. By being with other people and learning how to be nice, giving to those in need, and caring about those who need help from you. And the best kind of the world is a world in which we all learn to care for each other in the same way. Well, that's pretty good advice, Miss Clunk. I appreciate you being here today, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of our service. Oh, I can't stay, dearie. No, the engine is still running on my hog, and I've got to get back on the road before all the chocolate eclairs are gone. Oh, I see. Well, try not to pop any more wheelies. I'm not making any promises. Okay, thank you. We will sing our children out, except for you, I'm ignoring you. By request.
As we move into a time of meditation, you're invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a few deeper breaths and reflect on this quote about morality from Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion. Remember, all I am trying to establish for the moment is that we do not, as a matter of fact, derive our morals from Scripture. Or if we do, we pick and choose among the Scriptures for the nice bits and reject the nasty. But then we must have some independent criterion for deciding which are the moral bits, a criterion which, wherever it comes from, cannot come from Scripture itself, and is presumably available to all of us, whether we are religious or not.
Said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led. But to those who help us most to grow, if we let them, and we help them in return, well, I don't know if I believe that's true. But I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Thanks again, Madeline. As I said it in lengthier terms after you sang that song at our first service, I'll say very briefly, thank you. We feel the same about you. Do we need a new moral outlook? Again, this was delivered by John Dietrich, I believe in the 1930s. So we are accustomed to hearing it said that ours is an age of transition. True today, right? Every progressive people is always in a stage of transition, but the rapidity which we have been changing in the sphere of religion and morality has never been greater than it is now. During the past several decades, a number of factors have deeply influenced and transformed religion and consequently the moral outlook. Perhaps the most important of these were the doctrine of evolution and the so-called higher criticism. The former has changed humanity's whole point of view and has wrought a veritable revolution in every phase of human thought, while the latter has so transformed the traditional view of the Bible that it is now placed in the same class as the other books embodying our aspirations and inspiration of humanity. The general advance in all branches of the physical sciences has also weakened, I might say destroyed, the belief of well-informed people in the intervention of a divine power in physical events. It's not so very long ago that almost everyone had no doubt as to the possibility of interference on part of the Creator in physical affairs, and their prayers were made up of petitions for this intervention. This is no longer true. But a more important result of the recent gains in science has been to disturb the accepted belief in the power of God to make His will felt in the world of thought and feeling, which strikes at the very heart of Christianity, enough to make it almost unrecognizable. But the most important consequence of all this breakdown of belief in God as the author of morality and the judge of moral deeds and the enforcer of moral law. The great mass of humanity has always believed that the moral law was enacted by God, was interpreted by God, and disobedience to it was punished by God. And along with belief in this kind of God has gone the reason for paying any attention to the moral law at all. Now, shall we rejoice at the loss of this cardinal faith, or shall we lament it? We may indeed be delighted that what we call a superstition has fallen to the ground. But those whose hearts are yearning for a more enriched individual life in a better world cannot help but feel that a great danger lies in the passing of such a belief. The belief in a perfect judge, a great helper, a loving father, has been a source of immeasurable strength to humanity. By whom and how is this loss to be met? The task, as it appears to me, is just this, and no less than this: to replace the great Father, to provide for those who needed Him that which they were in the habit of receiving from Him, and to replace the great enforcer of moral law with new sanctions for doing what is right. And this duty falls upon both the individual and society at large. People must so organize their boundless physical and moral resources as to multiply steadfast and intelligent friendships, so that all the unsatisfied cravings and yearning of the soul shall find their remedy in human fellowship and in varied social activities. In like manner, we must teach people the natural and actual reasons why we call the moral law and why it shall be observed, so that their moral satisfactions may arise from the mere fact of doing what is right rather than in pleasing God. Satisfaction in doing what is right rather than in pleasing God. Is it possible for humanity to provide such a substitute? I do not say for God, but for the belief in the particular God of which I've been speaking. I believe that it is. The loss of the transcendent Father will hasten the establishment of the kingdom of heaven on earth, for it will make us feel our mutual dependence more keenly, and it will help us develop a morality based upon the love of good rather than the fear of punishment. This conviction rests in the first place upon the observation that God never did what God was supposed to do for mankind to begin with. And in the second place, upon a faith in the growing goodness of humanity. Hence, this change in our conception of God is the first reason we need a new moral outlook. And it is the reason which I shall now consider more at length. In view of this general breakdown of the belief in a supernatural God, it is necessary to show people that morality is a natural, not a statutory reality, that it is composed of the laws which make for individual and social welfare, wrought out of mankind's experience, and not out of arbitrary commandments handed down by a supernatural being. As soon as the evolutionary theory and origin of morals has been accepted, great strides in the development of an improved morality will surely follow. The origin of morality is a long and very fascinating story. So long as people believed in what I might call supernatural morality, the study of its origins were comparatively simple. The supernaturalist presupposes the existence of God, who is a moral being, in fact, a perfect moral being. And this God, with his perfect knowledge of what is right and wrong, has in times past imparted some of this knowledge onto humanity. In fact, he has, with his own finger written on tablets of stone, some of the more important precepts as embodied in the Ten Commandments. Therefore, it is right to obey these commandments and wrong to disobey them. In other words, supernatural morality is founded on the arbitrary commands of a supernatural being. Some have differed as to the channel through which this knowledge came, the Bible, the church, individual conscience, but they all agreed as to its source, to its divine source. But with a breakdown of supernatural religion, we get the collapse of these stupendous claims in regard to the origin of morality. And we realize that people have found out what is right and wrong in their relationships with other people. That's how we know. Right is nothing more nor less than an idea, a word by which we express the truth that has been wrought out of human experience, that certain kinds of thinking, certain ways of feeling, certain methods of conduct are helpful to humanity while others are harmful. We know today that stealing and killing are wrong, not because some imaginary being in the sky said so, but because they are inimical both to the individual and to group life. And this is the real reason they have always been made moral prohibitions, their source having been assigned to the gods only later to give them authority. As a matter of experience, certain things have been found to be injurious to humanity, either individually or socially, and are spoken of as bad and wrong. Other things have been found to be helpful to humanity, things that prolong our lives and increase our happiness and are called good and right. And so more or less general ideas of what good and bad and what right and wrong are have arisen in the world. The human race did not first have the idea of morality and then inquire whether this, that, or the other thing is moral. By actual and tolerably uniform experience, it learned that some things are injurious and disintegrating to society, and other things are useful and fortifying. Refraining from hurting one another, refraining from stealing one another's property, refraining from injuring one another's reputation. These are things the members of a community would find tended to build up the community and make it strong, and still more would be keeping their word with one another and caring for one another. In short, truth, affection, public spirit, these are the things that we lump together and call morality. And I do not mean by this that the right and wrong of everything has been decided. The whole meaning of morality simply simmers down to this, that there are certain conditions according to which life must be lived. And that if we knew all these conditions, then right and wrong of everything would be determined, because right action is the action which tends to the preservation and enrichment of both the individual and society. And wrong action is that which tends to the destruction and impoverishment of life and of life together. Now, what is our sanction for morality? Why should we be moral? Why should we follow these moral laws? This question is answered the moment we ask another question as to the purpose of life. What is life for? The only answer I have ever been able to give to this question is that life is to live. What is the end game of life? Why, life itself. What is it that people are striving for? Why, life, the full, free, rich, abundant life. The supreme and perfect end of life is to live. As Tennyson puts it, 'tis life whereof our nerves are scant. O life, not death, for which we pant, more life and fuller that we want. This great desire for life, coupled with the knowledge that those things which foster, enlarge, liberate, and ennoble the lives of human beings are right, while those feelings and courses of conduct which can enslave, degrade, impoverish, and destroy life are wrong, gives us the perfect moral sanction, the strongest motive for doing what is right. Now, in accordance with this evolutionary idea of morality, there is another sense in which we are in greatly need of a new moral outlook. We hear a great deal about revolutions, past and present, but we hear very little of the one really significant revolution in human history. I refer, of course, to the Industrial Revolution, which took place in the 18th and 19th centuries. While political revolutions have had a considerable effect upon human lives, the Industrial Revolution has completely transformed the conditions of life on this planet, and are still doing so. Here, within a period of only a few years, inventions and discoveries were made which changed the whole face of the industrial world. The little individual workshops in which one worked for oneself with complete control over one's hours and conditions of labor gave way to the great roaring factories in which each worker became a wage slave to an industrial monarch. The little cottage scattered throughout the country in which each man was his own landlord, had his own well, kept his own cow, and split his own wood disappeared. And the great industrial centers with their crowded tenement houses, in which an individual is dependent upon others for every necessity of human existence, erupted. In 1800, the population of the United States was about 5 million. Today it is hundreds of millions. In 1800, it was chiefly agricultural, and the cities were few and comparatively unimportant. Today, far more than half of us live in cities. In 1800, there stood on the southern shore of Lake Michigan a fort with a population of about 50 people. Today, on that same site stands one of the largest cities in the world. Similar changes have taken place in every great industrial country, and it doesn't take much to understand the tremendous significance of these changes resulting from the Industrial Revolution. As Woodrow Wilson put it, ever since society began, men were related to one another as individuals. Now the everyday relationship of people are largely with complex organizations, not with other individuals. This is nothing short of a new social age, a new era of human existence, a new stage setting for the drama of life. Now, this is especially significant in considering our need for a new moral outlook. For the old ethical system in which we have been trained deals almost exclusively with individual relationships. This was perfectly natural because the complex social relationships with which we are now familiar had not yet come into existence. The real evils of the past were those committed by one individual against another. But today we all live in a vast network of social relations where the old moral laws do not seem to apply. Practically all the things which a few generations ago individuals did for themselves are now done for them by groups of people over which they have no control and no relationship. In those days, if a man wanted water, he went out to his well and he drew a pail of water. Today, he must take the kind of water that's supplied to him from the city in which he lives. If then he wanted milk, he'd have to go out and milk his own cow. Today, he's absolutely dependent on the great milk corporations for milk, for him and his children. In those days, if he desired fuel, he went out and chopped down a tree and split it into wood. But today, he's entirely dependent upon the coal trust to keep himself warm. As Professor Ross of the University of Wisconsin says, "My vital interests are now entrusted to others. Nowadays, the water main is my well, the trolley is my carriage, the banker's safe my old stocking, the policeman's billy my fist. I rely upon others to look after my drains, invest my savings, nurse my sick, and teach my children." A major, major change in how we relate and live. This interdependence puts us at one another's mercy and so ushers in a multitude of new forms of wrongdoing, with the result that people do not see, to use Professor Ross's words again, that bribery is treason, that blackmail is piracy, that embezzlement is theft, that speculation is gambling, that tax dodging is larceny, that railroad discrimination is treachery, that child labor is slavery, that pollution is murder. We do not realize today, as Jacob Riis used to say, you can as surely kill a man with a rotten tenement house as with an axe. And I judge that for everyone killed with an axe, there are hundreds killed by rotten tenements. And so we find ourselves today facing situations with which our old morality does not deal. And the old question of right and wrong is not so simple as it once was. The moral principles are the same as always, but we have outgrown their old individualistic forms, and they must be translated into their social equivalent, so that we will cease to condemn only the man who steals a loaf of bread while we pay honor to a man who steals $1 million. Or that we will cease to condemn only one who beats a child while we honor the man who kills thousands of children by means of child labor, so that we will cease to condemn only the man who assaults a woman, while we respect the man who by means of economic pressure robs thousands of women of the dignity they deserve. The moral unrest of our times, I think, is largely due to the inadequacy of the old system, which deals only with individual relations, right, individual crimes, and knows nothing of our complicated social relations. We need to formulate a new social morality if our social life is to have the guidance, the moral guidance which it needs. New varieties of sins have grown up with the evolving civilization, great glaring sins in our commercial and political relations which are darkening our skies. Our commercial and political giants play havoc with human rights and on a tremendous scale. And we have not advanced ethically as far as they have financially, so as to classify their offenses in such a way as to criticize and condemn them. Does anyone doubt that in this respect we need a new moral outlook? Let me show you briefly as I can why we must now make morality the very heart of our religion, both for the sake of morality and for the sake of religion itself. In the past, these two things have been more or less divorced. Religion, in the beginning, was little more than a method by which mankind gained the favor or warded off the enmity of the gods. But this had practically nothing to do with the way in which people dealt with each other, which we call morality. But once people realize that only those laws which contribute to the good of community and human life, which make us strong and happy, are moral laws, they will realize also that as long as these laws are not observed, it is foolish to sacrifice to the gods and pray for their favor. For it is silly to pray for health while breaking the rules which make us healthy, or to pray for social welfare while living the kind of life which contributes to social disintegration. On the other hand, once they realize that welfare and happiness are not arbitrary gifts from the gods, but the natural results of human conduct, then the natural order in which we live will become the real object and reverence of our awe. The purpose of religion has always been to secure blessings for humankind. Its worship, its sacrifices, its prayers are always to this end. The very ends which religion craves leads it to pay attention to the real conditions of life, to study the laws of the physical world upon which life depends. So instead of praying or sacrificing for peace and happiness, instead of imploring Apollo or Jehovah, Allah, or God to stop a pestilence, they search out and remove the cause of that pestilence. And religion, instead of being separate from morality, becomes ethical and scientific. It believes that morality guided by science is its very life and soul, and thus becomes the real power of human life. There are many definitions for religion, but fundamentally, religion is merely a set of feelings and a set of practices which result from those feelings. Morality is a way of acting rather than a way of feeling. But when we see that true morality is a way of life, and that immorality is a way of death to people in their communities, then there is no reason why people, conscious of their responsibilities and of the great issues at stake, should not be touched with reverence and awe as they seek these things. In this sense, religion and morality may become one, because religion is a general term meaning whatever one holds sacred, whatever one venerates, whatever gives one a supreme rule of life. And so I stand here this morning ready to preach a new moral outlook. I believe that in this enlightened age of the world, the moral ideal is the only fit object for intelligent worship, that morality alone is fit to be a religion, that the prevailing types of religion are outworn and should be cast aside, that only so far as religion concentrates its worship upon the moral ideal has it any saving power. What use are all sorts of mystical emotions, all sorts of philosophical speculations, all sorts of scientific inquiries, if we have not the emotion necessary to keep us straight in our daily lives, if we have not an eye for cause and effect in the here and now, if we have not the real secret of happiness to live in peace from day to day, the religion that will teach us how to live, that will hold up clear and high laws of life and win our obedience to them, this is the religion that the world needs. And it is the only true religion. All other religions, all that seek to make something else sacred, that cause us to put our trust in a church or creed, in Christ or God, divert us from the real issue. Obedience to the natural conditions of life. And so do we need this new moral outlook, promoting human welfare and happiness, which enthrones the moral idea as the supreme object of religious worship, and makes devotion to this moral law the supreme object of our religious practice. Thank you. By the way, it wasn't 33, it was 1922 that was first given. Yeah.
Thank you. Please stand. We're going to sing our last hymn, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire, number 34 in the hymnal.
Our benediction today is a quote from the Buddha. Be ye lamps unto yourselves. Be your own reliance. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.
Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom.